So over the next few minutes, I'm going to share a couple of insights into the Australian industry's journey thus far, and I'll also talk a bit about transparency, which is something that we believe has been a key ingredient in the development of the sector in other geographies. So AltFi Data is happy today to launch the Australasian Liberum AltFi Volume Index. That's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? This adds to our UK and European volume series and is the first series to track P2P and market lending origination volumes in Australasia. I'm sure you're all looking at the chart as opposed to listening to me at the moment. The index has 6 participating platforms who each fulfill our eligibility criteria. And we believe that we're capturing well over 90% of the market currently. So what does it tell us? Well, by the end of 2015, the sector had originated 250 million Aussie dollars, almost on the nose actually, on a cumulative basis. That's 85% of that cumulative total was originated in 2015 alone. So that just gives you an idea of the scale of the growth and the speed of the growth. The growth has been explosive. At the current growth trajectory, we predict that the industry will originate $500 million of loans in 2016, or twice what it has done since inception. So therefore, 2016 is going to be a seminal year for the Australasian industry. This index tells us a great deal and also tells a powerful growth story about the industry. It's made possible by increased transparency, a word that has come up a few times today. Transparency can mean different things to different people. So I just wanted to take a moment to recap on what it means to AltFi Data in this context. There's a broad spectrum of information provided by platforms to their lenders. Across the bottom of this slide, you can see the 5 key features of transparency in P2P and marketplace lending that we see in platforms around the world. There are many more, but they wouldn't all fit on the slide, and also these are the main ones that we've identified. We've also placed some of the larger UK, US, and European market lending platforms onto this spectrum. So as you can see, there's a nice broad range of platforms, but the distribution is broadly barbell in nature. Once platforms embrace transparency, they tend to go all out. Of course, there are pros and cons to transparency. An oft-leveled criticism of marketplace and peer-to-peer platforms is that they are merely intermediaries with no skin in the game. Therefore, when it comes to the quality of the loans that they originate, they have no economic interest in their quality and in their success. Many platforms see their skin in the game as their track record. Therefore, being as open and transparent about historical loan and historical loan performance is a must. This helps build the trust of regulators and investors, both institutional and retail, alike. Transparency enables industry aggregated statistics, such as volume and returns, to be disseminated, providing a bigger impact than multiple smaller voices may have. There are drawbacks, however. Competitors can potentially gain useful insights into your business model if too much information is shared. Lending Club and Prosper used to provide well over 100 fields of information for every loan originated. However, this invited the reverse engineering of their credit models by copycat platforms. A balance needs to be struck. This chart here is an interesting chart. It's plotting the combined share of the UK's 4 biggest platforms. And as you can see, their market share was steadily eroded until an inflection point somewhere in the middle of 2014. when they began to regain market share. This was despite new entrants continuing to enter the sector. The reasons for this phenomenon are likely to be many and complex. It coincided with the arrival of institutional capital. However, I would point out that the biggest 4 UK platforms are also the 4 of the most transparent platforms, and institutional capital tends to favour the more transparent platforms in our experience. Transparency enables the industry to quote analysis that's aggregated of things such as returns. Here's our UK return series. The blue line is the trailing 12-month investor return net of defaults and fees with any recoveries factored back in. The green and red lines are proxies for the risk-free rate in the UK. Note that this series goes back to 2006 and the consistency of the industry returns over that 10-year period. It's a pretty strong message and an advertisement for the industry. Also consider the impressive spread over the risk-free rate at the moment, albeit taking a look at the early years, perhaps it wasn't as easy to get investors involved. In time, it would be great to be able to do the same returns series for Australasia, where I suspect, given anecdotal conversations I've had in the last few days, returns are currently quite a lot higher than in the UK. So if we just flick back to our transparency spectrum slide, if you remember, we plotted the rest of the world platforms on the scale. Now we've taken a look at the Australasian industry to see how it measures up. Pretty good for such a new industry, and we recognize that in the very early days of a platform's journey, there's not much track record anyway, so its value is limited. Given this, it is impressive where Australian platforms sit, and there is absolutely no criticism of those platforms who are currently to the left-hand side of that slide. We know they have plans to make strides when it's appropriate. You'll notice no platforms are yet on the far right. This is down to the lack of an industry standard definition and statistics. In the UK, the industry body, the P2PFA, has put these in place, and it has proven very useful for investors driving the industry, to attract investors and driving the industry forward. Perhaps something for the Australian market to consider. Looking deeper into our Australasian volume series, you can see that consumer lending currently dominates Australasian peer-to-peer. There is some business lending, but on a percentage basis, it's not massive at the moment. This mirrors the beginnings of the industries in both the UK and the US. However, as we can see, the UK industry is now originating increasingly diverse types of loans, lending to businesses and real estate. Here I need to correct my colleague David from earlier. Consumer loan origination now accounts for less than half of the UK industry's monthly origination, not more than half. Real estate lending is the fastest growing sector in the UK, accounting for 25% of volume at the moment and having grown about 135% year on year last year. Having spoken to several people today and listened to the talks, it feels like the Australasian lending mix will look very different in the next 12 months with several business-focused platforms on the scene. Maybe real estate secured lending will follow. Who knows? So how does the Australasian industry growth compare to the growth in other geographies? We took a look at how long it took for the UK, US, and Australasian industries to lend their first 250 million Aussie dollars. That is. Australasia is shown in blue here, and indeed was the fastest geography on an outright basis to lend their first 250 Aussie dollars. And given the relative size of the total addressable market of the two economies, that's a massive achievement in my view. Adjusting for the relative size of each economy, the gap is even bigger, as you'd expect. So here we've adjusted it for the GDP of each economy. It's clear that Australasia's industry has gained a lot from the learning experiences of the platforms in the rest of the world, and the wider acceptance of the technology and concept and awareness. There has also been institutional capital involved from the get-go, with Eaglewood, Blue Elephant and Victory Park, to name but a few. This has likely turbocharged the industry. However, let's not take anything away from those of you in this room. It is a truly remarkable growth story. As the fastest growing geography, Australasia is certainly one to watch globally going forward. Thank you.
Excellent.